name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel. And today's video is going to be a Halloween reading vlog since Halloween is right around the corner at the time I'm filming this. So about 2 years ago, I decided that I wanted to start picking up Junji Ito's manga. I started with Shiver, which is one of the collections, and then I read Tomoki the next year. And although there's definitely never really a bad time to read Junji Ito, I definitely really love it around Halloween. And that is basically the inspiration behind this reading vlog, except I'm also adding other things. Content warnings for all of the series I talk about today will be linked down below in the description, and let's go ahead and start talking about them. And what better way to start than with the Liminal Zone by Junji Ito. So I typically go into Junji Ito kind of blind. With Tomoki it was different because there was a short story of Tomoki in Shiver. It should be a surprise of sorts. I like that it's shorter so that it won't take me that long to read, hopefully. And everything about the cover and the artwork that I've seen so far from it really intrigues me, and I'm super excited for this one. And the next manga that is basically a lock for this video is Ibitsu. This is one that I did buy purely based on the cover. I believe it's kind of gothic with like a Lolita. And other than that, I don't really know what to expect from it. I do believe that I looked up the reviews like a while ago, back when I first saw the cover of this book, just to see what it was about and what was going on. And I think I remember the reviews being like a little bit mid towards this. So I think for a while I was kind of unsure about it, but the cover got me, so here we are. And the next series I want to talk about is Mieruko-chan. I watched the anime back when it aired last year, and although I did have some problems with it, I did overall end up having like a good time with it, and I've heard the manga's a lot better than the anime. So I am really looking forward to like seeing what I think about these. I do own the first 4 volumes. I do think the 5th one is out, at least the 5th, it might be the 6th. So I have a little bit of hauling to do if all goes well, but we're gonna start with these 4. Once again, they're pretty short, so we'll see how many I get through, but I do think this first volume is pretty locked in. So the next series that I have here is Chainsaw Man. This is a manga that I started, I believe, at the end of last year, and I was a little unsure about it at first, and it's like the more volumes that I read, the more that I really grow to love this series. We're here at volume 5. I do own the rest of part 1. My plan was to originally read it before the anime came out. That did not happen. I thought the first episode of the anime was super amazing, and it really only made me want to pick this series up more, so here it is. Okay, so those are all of the ones that I have set out. I tried to do a mix of horror and dark fantasy. As for some other things going on in my reading life right now, I did recently finish The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School by Sonora Reyes. I am still reading These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, which has taken me a lot longer than I thought it would, but I'm taking my time with it, and it's been honestly amazing so far. I would like to get Mexican Gothic and The Girl from the Well done before Halloween, because they're definitely more heavily horror than the rest of my TBR for October. So hopefully throughout this vlog I can find a balance between those and then all of the manga I just talked about. As for some other things that I have planned, I do have some Halloween treats that I would like to make. As for the rest of today, I do think I'm going to start Ibitsu since it is the longer one. I read about 60 pages of These Violent Delights this morning. I only have the jacket because the book is not in this room with me right now. I do think that these two are going to be my main focus for the rest of today. My mom also had a birthday recently, so I'm going out with her and my aunts tonight for a birthday dinner. I believe she is also getting her ears pierced. So yeah, until then, I think the plan right now is that I'm going to work on these two, and I'll see you guys again when I have a reading update. I'm disturbed, uncomfortable, and just a lot of things. What did I just read? Okay, Hi, it is now day 2. We ended up getting home a little bit late yesterday, so I didn't get any time to read last night, which is fine because I'm usually too tired to read at night anyway. It never really goes well. But today we are doing a little bit of shopping. I am on the hunt for 2 book sequels specifically. One is the sequel to Blood Like Magic by Lizelle Samberry, and the other is the sequel to A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. Will some other things join the haul along the way? Maybe. I'm open-minded to it. I'll probably do a little bit of a book haul after this, either today or tomorrow, and hopefully I'll have a reading update by then. How do your ears feel? That's your big ear, the one that's bigger than the other one?
That's what you guys said. She's the one.
She pointed it out. Okay, hi, welcome to day 4. I spent day 3 editing and reading, and I spent most of today finishing this and also filming my review for it. But otherwise, I do have some reading updates, and then I also do have a mini book haul from when we went to Barnes & Noble. So I didn't necessarily strike out at Barnes & Noble, but I also kind of did. I went in with the intention to get 2 sequels. I came out with one of them. They did not have the other one. And then I came out with something else, and then I also came out of Target with something else too. But the sequel that I did find is Blood Like Fate. And this is the sequel to Blood Like Magic. So Blood Like Magic is Lizelle Samberry's debut. It follows our main character after she is given a task to kill her first love in order to save her family's magic. And this all happens during her calling, which is a trial that every witch must pass in order to obtain their powers. So this was a book that I enjoyed, and that's pretty much my reasoning here for hauling the sequel. I liked it, and I liked it enough to continue on with the series. I will say I do remember that some things at the end of this book had me really excited going into a sequel, and also just curious for what's coming next. Also, this cover is so stunning, and so is the spine. I saw this cover online, I was like, oh, I like that. And then I saw it in person, and it looked even better in person, which just increases my excitement for this, honestly. So when I said struck out earlier, I meant they didn't have the sequel to A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. It does look like this is going to have to be a future internet order, because this is like the 3rd time that this has happened. But what they did have was this. This is Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. This honestly might be a bit of a premature buy for me, since I do want to read the sequel to These Violent Delights first. But also, like, it's so stunning, I couldn't help myself. It's gold, the pages are painted, and I have a huge weakness for both of those things, so I went for it. I might be wrong about this, but I do think I saw somewhere where it said that this was a spin-off of the These Violent Delights duology. I'm already in love and obsessed with the first book, so I figured why not. And the last thing that I got from Barnes & Noble is a little Jiro My Hero Academia pop keychain. She's one of my favorite characters, and also, like, this is super cute, so. See, Shadow likes her too. And the last book for this haul is I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. This is the one that I got at Target. It follows our main characters Angel and Jimmy. Angel has dedicated her life to being in the fandom of a teenage punk pop band called The Ark. Jimmy is the frontman of said band, which is his dream until recently his life has taken a kind of nightmarish turn. When Jimmy and Angel meet, they navigate and face reality together. So this is a coming of age story. Storygraph had it tagged as LGBTQ+, and it has a pretty good average rating. It's also Alice Oseman, and like Heartstopper and Radio Silence are like 2 of my favorite things ever. I also don't read too many books about music, but I want to, and I'm also very intrigued by the fandom aspect of this because I typically enjoy that. All of that ran through my mind in like 30 seconds while I was staring at this book in Target, and I ended up hauling it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the reading update now. I have not touched Ibitsu since last time you saw on the blog. I have no idea how I feel about it, honestly. I like her character design, and I like the art just in general. There are some really cool images and scenes in here. The actual horror is disturbing, and the creepy elements are in fact creepy and also disturbing. I just don't know how I feel about them. Like, I haven't left other disturbing and creepy horror manga feeling this unsure and kind of negative. I haven't narrowed down why I feel that way about this one specifically, but there's also a ton of it left. I'm hoping things turn around, but it's also a ton of pages left for me to go ahead and figure that out. Otherwise, I did read volume 1 of Mieruko-chan. I also recently read volume 5 of Chainsaw Man. That is all I have for now. I do plan to read more today. I do have work for the next few days, so what I'm about to say probably is not going to happen, but I would like to finish Ibitsu, so then I can start the Liminal Zone after that is over, and we'll just see what I have time for. I also have treats to make as well, so I'll see you again when one of those things happen. Hello, welcome to the final day of the vlog. As of recently, I've been kind of in a cycle of filming, editing, working, and then more filming and editing, with a little bit of reading thrown in there as well. I did finish Ibitsu. I also read another volume of Chainsaw Man, and then I've just been working on like Mexican Gothic and then The Girl from the Well by Rinchi Peiko. But we'll get more into that during the wrap-up portion of the vlog. Right now, there is one more thing that I do have to read. Okay, it's actually kind of two things because I really did commit in my head to reading that second volume of Mieruko-chan, so we're also going to do that. But today's main focus is The Liminal Zone by Junji Ito. It's the reason why this vlog exists in the first place, so it's time to read it. So yeah, I'm going to get started on this. I'm also going to be reading this. Then we are going to go ahead and wrap this whole thing up. It is finally time. We are finally at the wrap-up portion of this vlog. We're going to start with the individual volumes first, and then we'll move into the collections. And the first thing that I'm going to be talking about is Chainsaw Man. So if you don't know, Chainsaw Man follows our main character Denji after he makes a contract with a dog-like devil, who then fuses with him, which allows him to turn multiple parts of his body into chainsaws. I ended up finishing volumes 5 and 6 during this vlog. I don't think this series takes its romance elements seriously by any means, but these definitely aren't my favorite scenes and storylines to read, especially when it comes to our main character because he's like 16 and the age differences are really uncomfortable because a lot of these women are like full adults. So yeah, don't like that, but what I do like about this series, I actually really do love about this series. There are so many interesting and complex characters, and then also characters that are really fun and lovable, and then characters that are a mix of all of those things. These two volumes in particular introduce some characters and concepts that really kept me interested and excited to keep reading, both reading through these two volumes and also just reading the series in the future. I've said this before on my channel, but Chainsaw Man has just been such a wild experience so far. It's so dumb and so ridiculous, but it's also really smart. I also really love the art and the fight scenes, but that was not a shocker when it comes to this series. Like, I've known that since the beginning. Something else I was thinking about while reading these two volumes is just how rereadable I think this series is. is, I kind of do just want like to set aside a day and just start from the beginning and read through all of them at once, because I did read these 2 volumes more back to back than I typically do with Chainsaw Man, and I really had an amazing time with that, and I do think that is something that I want to partake in more in the future. I haven't read any of Tatsuki Fujimoto's one-shots yet, but I really do need to get to those soon because I've heard they're also really amazing, so I'm looking forward to those, and then I'm also looking forward to just continuing on with Chainsaw Man. So next up is volumes 1 and 2 of Mieruko-chan. This is a comedy horror manga that follows our main character Miko. She wakes up one day with the ability to see these monsters that nobody else can see, and she decides that her best course of action at this point is to just ignore them, which is something that is easier said than actually done. My first complaint about this series is that there is too much focus on the characters' undergarments. There's also some weird scenes of SA in here when it comes to the monsters and the characters. I will say these are complaints that I had about the anime as well, so this wasn't a surprise going in. This is also something that I remember being a lot worse in some storylines than other storylines. Like volume 2 only had a few instances, while volume 1 I do think had a lot more. But when those things are not happening, I do really like this series. This series has some really fun moments. For the most part, I also really do like its comedy. I love its friendships. I love following Miko, and I love her personality. And Hana, she's just like a complete mess, but we love her anyway. And honestly, we love her for it. The series has a really fun aesthetic and vibe going for it, and it's one that I really connect with. The art specifically is something that really stood out to me positively in volume 2. Like, some of the monsters genuinely looked really disturbing and scary. This is not a feeling that I've really had before with this series, but it's definitely a welcome addition. I also think the series has an interesting contrast between like the silly and cute moments and the horror elements. And then there are also stories that do have a lot of heart to them. So yeah, it has its less favorable moments for sure, but there's a lot that I like about this, and I am really looking forward to continuing on with it. Alright, let's talk about Ibitsu. There's an urban legend about a girl who dresses in gothic Lolita clothing. She appears late at night by garbage dumps. She asks if you would have a little sister. If you answer her question, then you will meet a twisted death without fail. This follows a guy who comes across this girl one night at his garbage dump. Okay, yeah, this was an experience. I disliked it greatly, but it was an experience. It's weird, and I'll get into it, but like, I'm supposed to dislike this, I think, and that's the point. But it wasn't in like a fun, I'm reading horror type of way. This story was incredibly uncomfortable and disturbing, which again, is the point. I get that. But what I don't get is why it tried so hard to be sexual. Like, I know where it comes from, and I know what it's trying to play off of, which is like gross and terrible just as a concept, and it genuinely just felt so unnecessary to me in this story. Like, it felt like the story was just trying to be edgy and mature by including these elements. There are other ways the story is creepy and twisted. I didn't feel like it needed to make some of the choices that it did, both when it comes to what I just talked about and also with some other turns this story took. This story does have some really strong horror elements that were genuinely really scary, and then I also really like the art style. There's a lot of yandere elements to this, which on one hand completely makes sense to me. Like, the jealousy and the possession, that did work in here for me. But again, the sexual side of it, no. Absolutely not. So yeah, there were moments where it did the disturbing and uncomfortable really well for me, and moments where it definitely did not. There were also 2 side stories in here that I didn't really like. I also didn't really feel any attachment towards the characters, maybe the main character's little sister, but that's it. And also some of the characters I really actively disliked. I do think some of them are purposefully unlikable, but even like the ones I'm supposed to be rooting for, I just kind of felt indifferent towards. I think I'm gonna go with a 2-star rating here. I just have so many regrets and so many things I don't think I'll ever be able to unsee. And that's part of the reason why this is like kind of weird for me, because usually when I have those feelings, it's like good and fun when it comes to horror. But that is just not the case when it comes to this one. And the final book that we are going to be wrapping up today is The Liminal Zone by Junji Ito. So this is a collection of 4 short stories. Honestly, it just felt really nice to be reading Junji Ito again. Like, it felt refreshing. A lot of the concepts in here were really interesting, and actually I would say all of them them were. The art style, as always, was amazing. There are some really disturbing images in here, which is, in this case, super fun. I really liked the first story. The second one went on a bit long for me, but I did enjoy elements of it. I thought the third one was also really interesting. And the fourth one was just kind of okay for me. It's not my favorite, but I thought it was fine. All of that is going to lead me to a 4-star for this collection, and I'm excited to continue my journey into Junji Ito's work because honestly, it's been an amazing time so far. Okay, yeah, I think that's it. I always feel like I'm forgetting something into these vlogs, and it's also just been a long time since I finished a vlog in general, so I'm not used to this. This is what completion feels like. It's genuinely been a while. Okay, so that is all that I have for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that, and hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!